Good evening. My name is Sylvia Wandahwa, and I got invited by Todd to present to you about Polymer. For those who are in the morning session, Google is trying to advance design and just improve how we make and develop our websites. So Polymer is the future of web development, and I will tell you why. Hopefully. So for those who have been in web developing in a long time, let's say since 1992, that image should be very familiar. That was Netscape, and that was right before we had Internet Explorer kick in, and HTML had just started. So HTML, as you know, is a hypertext markup language. It helps with the layout of your website. So what's happening right now is that we have websites that want different features, that want more than just a table. They want calendars, they want sheets in it. So we see what we see is different. That is a tab, a coding where someone or a developer is trying to improve and have applications work with that. So that is typical for the Bootstrap or Foundation. And this is the UI for Kindle. So as you can see, coding is becoming a little bit more complicated. You have HTML, then you have to include JavaScript. This is all just to improve your web component, to include other different features that you want. And then we have Angular. So those who just came from the Angular session, that is how Angular code looks. So Google is trying to make it easier for developers and also designers to be able to make websites more interactive and easy just to build. And I'm going to highlight how that is working. Basically, Polymer is a library. It has web components that helps you build elements and applications. You can use it in all modern browsers right now, Safari, Firefox, as well as Internet Explorer. The awesome thing about Google Polymer, it gives you access to their API, which is Application Programming Interface. So you have Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Map. All of that, you can include that in your website. So it helps you as a developer. If you want to go the extra mile, you can create your own elements and extend that and build that into your own applications. And all these elements or web components that you build on this tool helps you create large components and applications. So what I was planning to do is open the Polymer design tool. So hopefully we can do that. Give me a minute. Can you see my? So the first thing before I even start, can you see the URL up there? Data Polymer, or can you all see that? Yeah. So this is accessible to everyone. It's an app that is set up. If you type that right now on your laptops, for those who have it, it gives you access to this tool. So Polymer allows you to open this and just go ahead and play with what they have currently. And for this demo that I set up, I kind of highlight all the way back there where the mouse is moving. Let me start from the beginning. So right over there, we have what we call an inspector code. It helps you tag in between the code and your canvas. That is the save button. You save your code. That is to export to GitHub. That is to open it up in a tab once you've finished what you're doing, including features like if you want to move around with your canvas and open up here. So up above there, you see your properties and your styles, and it will show you what element is in there. So the awesome thing is on your right, you have this palette where it shows you the components that is brought in by Polymer. And it shows you the core different elements that you can put on your website. So what I end up doing is the first thing I want to do is make a simple, basic card. But I also want to open the code. And I open the code where you see the code is already set up. It shows you the link that you're going to put. Whatever you pull up is coming from Polymer. And right there is your element that you're going to create. So go back to our tool. I'm pulling out a simple card known as the card. Sorry. So there you see, it tells you the properties of core card. And then you can pull out the field, and it tells you there's your field, core field, and you can actually go under styles and change anything you want. So it gives you access to the CSS styles or CSS libraries. So what I do for the card that I initially did, I changed it to auto, so it collapsed and fit into the field. Do we have a question?
Yeah, would you be able to expand the video? It's on the right side. Is that going to mess it up?
Yes. Perfect. Thank you, April. So going to the code, it shows you what I've done. And what's really cool is you can see my card ID is dropped and then my core field. Can you all see that? That way you can see. So as you can see, it shows you the style. It breaks it down, and you show how I changed the size to auto. So that helps you just, it automatically places the card for you in the right position. So going back to my tool, I don't want that anymore. I want to make an application that we can use and play around with. So I go to my core components or elements, and I pull out something known as a scaffold. When I pull it out, initially it doesn't fit the whole page, but there's this feature called auto size. So it fills up the page. Awesome. I can click on my item and automatically go to properties and change the label, and let's say put roadmap. Go to the next item and write set light. And all of this, make sure you hit save. Going back to my code, let me pause it. So I changed my label to set light. And I go to my code to see exactly, to make sure that the ID, the core ID, has been relabeled, roadmap and set light. Then I go back to my tool, and what I want to do is pull out the Google map. So this Google map is a full component. It's a simple tag that you drop and auto size. And it fills out the parent tool. So it knows exactly where to fill it in. And as you can see, it is just a simple tag, which is right over here, Google Map. Do you all see that? Okay. So on tap, what I'm doing is I'm actually now live coding, which I am sorry. But you can go in and add different codes. Like what I want to do is I want to enable the item that I labeled roadmap, that if I click on it, it will open up the roadmap. And if I click on set light, it will open up set light. So I have to add in that and write on tap, I want you to show me road, and on tap, I want you to show me set light. Do you all see that? Wait, fills. And I hit save. So I have my Google Map ID, and I need to make sure I name my function, which I just put show road and show set light. So what I'm doing is I'm coming down under my Polymer, my element, and I'm naming my function, which I just added. So my show road, I name it as a function, and my show set light. So I have to make sure that it identifies the Google map. So an awesome feature with Polymer is that there are already nodes, the automated nodes where it finds the node and whatever you're calling out. So the ID Google map, I want to change that map type in order to match my function. So I come here, and how you do that, in order to call it when you're in Polymer, you type this dot $, dot the ID, which is Google map, change the map type, and make it equal to your roadmap. And I do the same thing for my set light. So it's really easy to play around with and build up on. That's the main thing about Polymer. It helps design faster, and it helps programmers get access to different APIs and components really fast. So going back to my initial page, what I do, actually, let me pause here for a minute. Going back, how am I saving? Where am I saving all of this code? It's currently installed in GitHub right now, and GitHub is an open source. So while you're playing with this tool, make sure you have an account with GitHub, and it will give you a token. So once you get that token, you can easily export or easily export your code to GitHub. And it will allow you to also launch preview. So now that I went in and made those changes in the code, I have to make sure that I can't click on anything while I'm in the tool, because it will think I'm making more changes to the tool. So what I end up doing is I have to click on Preview Launch. So it opens up in a new tab, and you see that. So the awesome thing is, okay, let me click on my satellite, and it shows me the satellite feature. Going back to my roadmap, it shows me the roadmap features. So that's pretty neat, right? So what I do, okay, let's make it more interactive. I'm going to pull out Google Maps Search. And it's actually a non-visual element, so you won't see it on your tool. But up there, you will see the element Google Maps Search. And then I go ahead and pull out the field, which I had initially pulled out, and I drop it over there. So because I don't like the color, I can go to the styles, CSS styles, easily accessible, pull out the colors and change it. All of this is very easy to manipulate, and you can always go back and double check the code. Make sure you hit save. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that if I type in anything in text input, the map will be able to recognize it. So there's this feature called data binding that Polymer has. You can bind your data. And under here, what I did, before I keep moving, hold on. Yes. So your palette gave you access to the web components and the Google features. And your tree shows you all the elements that are already on your tool. So I quickly go to my tree, open it, and you'll see my Google Maps search. So I'm going to Maps, and I'm binding my map so that it can recognize whatever I put in the map, which is my Google map. Make sure you show me a map. So I'm binding my Google Maps search to the Google map. And I'm going to the next, which is the query. And what we named it as the core input, you can always go and double check your tree to make sure you're clicking on the right element. And I bind it to the value. That means whatever I put in my text input, the Google Maps search will connect to the Google map and show me what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So where are we right now? So an important thing before it keeps going, hold on. Let's pause. So that was my Google Maps search. That was the element you didn't see. But I have to make sure the changes that I made for the Google Maps search, I have to change it also for my Google Map. So what I do is I have to bind the data. That is, make sure my latitude responds to the result that is found, including the longitude. So my Google Map, hit results, give me the latitude. Same thing with my longitude, my Google Map, search, because I'm connecting it to the Google Map. Make sure you give it the result longitude. So I'm coming to the end of my demo. And you can change the zoom setting. And you can see, while you're even in there, you can see the changes happening. So you can always readjust the zoom. And make sure you hit save. And what happened, once you hit save, you can always check on your code, and then you can launch preview to see if it actually is going to work. So what did I type? I typed Lucy the elephant in Atlantic City. And I will hit search. And clearly, did I get to the end of that demo? So what it's supposed to do, it's supposed to find Lucy the elephant and somewhere. Anyway, so that was Polymer in a snapshot with horrible tech, but we made it. I guess to summarize, the tool gives you access to elements which are encapsulated by default. You can drop and drag them. They're composable. They are declarative, programmable, helps you build into web components. As I said, what are web components? They help you extend HTML as a developer. Overview, how do you get to Polymer? Maybe I'll let Glenn talk about that.